Dr. Deepak Talreja is probably the most humble person you'll ever meet. And while I don't fear that he'll ever develop a Superman complex, I did promise him that we would be, the praise that we were going to heap on him tonight and embarrass him immensely, and we were going to keep him well-grounded. I picked just one slide tonight that best represents your rise from humble beginnings and a bad hairdo to a dashing cardiologist extraordinaire. Save your applause. Now that 1980s photo, I think, with you and John Krueger, there's just something, there's a lot of things that are really striking about that. I know you could pick out a lot of different things. Maybe you could actually see that you're actually one of the few doctors that are shorter than Dr. Krueger. And the hairdo, and I think the hairdo is what does it. Please. But look how you've discarded the big hair. There's got to be a backstory to that hair. I mean, there's got to be somebody out there to thank for making you ditch that hairdo. I mean, my money's on Rena, your sister Rena. Where's Rena? Rena Talreja, Dr. Rena Talreja. There's got to be a backstory there. I wouldn't want to go to school with that either myself. Yes. Rena was always a smart one. Just ask your dad, he'll tell you. Speaking of your dad and you, Rena, and Deepak, I remember the story goes, Roshan Talreja, our 2016 physician of the year, he came into Beach General one year to the doctor's lounge and he was fuming. He was just indignant that at Cox High School, smart students were limited in the amount of AP courses they could take. Can you imagine? Rena was being discriminated against. She was being persecuted at Cox High School. Now, this was not on your watch, Mr. Mayor, but I'm not sure Roshan ever mentioned your name, Deepak, but if he did mention your name about that, you obviously did well. And you rose from the persecution and the discrimination at Cox High School. And I think that you helped to get rid of that. I want to thank Dr. Meredith Rose. She's our current Krueger chair this year. We have a round of applause for Dr. Rose. And his wife, Sue. We've had a great year with the Krueger Foundation this year. And thank you for allowing me to present this award to Deepak. I've written a few of these in the past and presented them in the past, including one to your father, Deepak, in 2016. We present each physician of the year with some very nice paper and wood products, which I'm about to present to you tonight. They summarize and proclaim all the reasons why you're so deserving of this award. When Dr. Rose asked for my help in constructing these, it was apparent that we really were in jeopardy of a major environmental breach of our forestry resources because there's a lot of things that need to be put on paper and on a wood plat. I was honored to be able to help save a few trees, but I'm afraid some of your accolades didn't make the list. Dr. Rolf White he's here tonight. He and I, we had the distinct pleasure of drafting your nomination letter. Truth be told, there were probably 200 other doctors around that would have done it, but we got in there first. We beat them to it, and it was a pleasure, although it was a monumental task, going through about 50 pages of your abbreviated CV. Now Rolf's a sharp fellow. Just ask him, he'll tell you. But he took him a week to go through all of that, and he finally ended up with a 4 or 5 page letter, which was way too much, obviously. But then I had the job of coning it down to I got it down to 2 pages, but I'm afraid there still were some accolades that were missed. Deepak, your leadership has been abundantly present in your role as the immediate past chair of the Krueger Foundation. You've expanded our membership, as well as our philanthropic goals. You've expanded our mentorship efforts amongst the young physicians-to-be. Your stewardship through the COVID years was just exemplary. And you brought our IT and website capabilities into the 21st century. Now, truth be told, you did farm that out to your kids. Your kids are wicked smart. Just ask them, they'll tell you. We sincerely thank you for your services to the Krueger Foundation. There are several other past chairs here tonight celebrating you, including myself. Larry Smith is here, Rolf White, Bobby Woodard's here. They preceded us at the helm. Just as you were fortunate to be able to pass the reins to Dr. Rose for the chairmanship, you know how appreciative I was that you were there right before us as I was ready to turn over the chairmanship just right after Rena turned me down for the job. But just ask anybody, they'll tell you. Anyways, as we can tell from the revealing timeline photo here, you've come a long way in your career, hairdo, friendship. Your face will become part of the Krueger Foundation legend, as we related in the last couple of years about some significant faces of Krueger. A couple of years ago, we talked about the face of our physician here, Dr. Greg Worth, who's with us here tonight. If you're fortunate enough to survive and you wake up in the ICU, you should thank your lucky stars if the first face you see is his. And the same with Dr. McCammon and the Princess Anne ER from last year. As much as we love our spouses and our families, the first face any of us should really be thankful for, if we want to wake you up in the cath lab, is your face, and with a decent haircut. Okay. Now, in case any of you didn't hear what Rolf White probably said either out loud or under his breath, the follow-up caveat to that Krueger quip is that you never ever want to wake up and see the John Krueger's face. The pathologist from the morgue. That's an entirely different outcome. But before I present you some paper and some wood, I'll quote one of the wife of a Virginia Beach physician on her way into the cath lab in past years. And she said, "It certainly was a little weird to look up and see the face of the little kid I used to see running up and down the street." Deepak, we thank you for returning to our streets, caring for us as patients, becoming a leader in the medical community, and most importantly, becoming such a good friend and colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage this year's Physician of the Year, Dr. Deepak Talreja. All the embarrassments. Officially, I would like to read at least part of the resolution. Again, it's voluminous. Whereas the medical community of the city of Virginia Beach, as part of the John J. Krueger Foundation, has deemed it appropriate to bestow the honor of Physician of the Year on a Virginia Beach physician each year. And whereas Dr. Deepak Talreja has served for over 20 years in his hometown, Virginia Beach, and communities of Hampton Roads in leadership, teaching, humanitarian roles, and along with his exemplary knowledge, talented and caring clinical career. And whereas as professor and mentor for multiple medical groups of students, as an associate professor of clinical medicine at EBMS, including medical students, PA students, and residents, and as well as being instrumental working to promote pre-medical high school student exposure through the Krueger Medical Scholarship Program. And whereas his superb leadership involving clinical roles in, I'm going to call it honorable, just say he's held every post available in title in cardiology, okay? Now we're back on script here. We're going to say, whereas his community volunteerism is embedded in his core values in the same manner as Dr. Krueger. Dr. Deepak Talreja has worked at the Beach Health Clinic, served as board member there, physician volunteer, has been involved with Rotary Club, and the City of Virginia Beach and the Brickell Scholarship Program. He's demonstrated in his practice of medicine and his volunteerism all the things that work to promote the health and well-being of all our citizens. His activities, accomplishments, and leadership skills most closely exemplify the ideal of service characterized by the life of Dr. John Krueger. Therefore, resolved that the medical community of Virginia Beach expresses its deep appreciation and highest regard. And be it further resolved, this certificate of honor be presented to Dr. Deepak Talreja, MD, and that he be named the 29th Annual Physician of the Year.
All right, that was a lot. I'm going to keep my comments brief, and let me just make sure I can fast forward this thing. Mandy, did you put that fast forward thing in here? Oh, yeah, you did. All right. All right, so honest, thanks, you got it. You're a step ahead of me. I wrote down what I'm going to say so I can keep it very brief. First of all, Dr. Rose, Dr. Winters, Dr. St. Clair, members of the board of the John Krueger Foundation, and esteemed colleagues and friends and guests, truly, I'm really humbled and honored to receive this recognition tonight. Like many of us who've been coming to this lectureship for years, I've always enjoyed seeing us honor the well-deserved physicians in our community. These are really the titans of our medical community, without whom none of us would be here. Sincerely, when I look on tonight's award, it feels a little different to me, honestly. Tonight, I accept this recognition really on behalf of an incredible team of physicians, advanced practice providers, nurses, medical assistants, technicians, administrators, and colleagues across the inpatient and outpatient arena, both in cardiology and in all the specialties of medicine we work in. And we're going to come back to that. I'm very excited to hear from our keynote speaker, Dr. Deborah Birx. So I'm going to keep my comments brief. Brief for a Talreja. I realize that I have limited time and it will be physically impossible for me to recognize all the people to whom I owe gratitude. And as I do my best to call out a few of our colleagues with praise, I ask that we all hold our applause until the end. That gives me a fighting chance of telling you the brief story that I want to tell you tonight. And then at the end, we'll all applaud for all of them together. Alex, can you fix this? All right, what I want to tell you tonight is I want to tell you a love story. And it's a love story to our community of Hampton Roads and to the city of Virginia Beach. That's what I'd like to share. And I put a few slides together to share the story tonight. And as I did, I marvel at how the threads of all of our lives weave together a remarkable tapestry that makes up this community. And that's kind of the story I want to share tonight. Now, I'm going to share it through the lens of what I've seen in my own life. But I think if we were to sit everyone in this room down, we would see how each of us really depends on each of us in this room to achieve what we have. And I think there would be many similar stories out there. My story begins, and hopefully doesn't end, all right, with these two beautiful people, my parents, who made their way from India and Cyprus to England, where they trained as first-generation healthcare professionals. That journey went on to carry them to Cleveland, Ohio. I think I know what it is. All right, from Cleveland, Ohio, on to Virginia Beach. That was in 1974. And Hampton Roads in particular, as the home of NATO, has always embraced multiculturalism and the diversity that's made this such a strong community. And it's one of the things I really love about where we live. In this next slide, you see my grandparents. And as my parents made this their home, my little sister Rena and I grew up in this great community with all the love and the opportunities that anyone could ever ask for. I thank my uncle and aunt and cousins from both sides of my heritage for being here tonight. Family has always been a huge part of our lives, and their support remains a constant in my life. Now, from early on, as my father has consistently encouraged me to strongly consider a career in medicine, they say it takes 10,000 hours to achieve proficiency. And between a motivated father and a perfectionist tiger mom, let's just say we started early. And frankly, I absolutely loved it. And for those wondering, I wasn't the only one. Oh, and sorry, I was going to say, and most of my dad's influence was positive. You judge. For those wondering there, I wasn't the only one that got that attention either. But those of you who know Rena, as Mark said, always know she had greater maturity and wisdom in her attitude. That has clearly driven her successful career in obstetrics and gynecology and the tremendous love her patients have for her, and I'm grateful to her. Well, needless to say, from my parents' first medical office on First Colonial Road and their long-term clinic, right across from Virginia Beach General Hospital, their mom-and-pop shop from days of old was Rena's and my stomping grounds throughout our childhood. Rena's always been my closest buddy and collaborator in crime. And again, Hampton Roads, this community, allowed us to grow in the safety and comfort of a great school system with opportunities to learn, practice leadership, play sports, and really enjoy all the amazing things about this community. Our mom's wisdom was that there was always time for another club or sport, and through grade school at Cape Henry and summer camps at Norfolk Academy, we were definitely never bored and enjoyed the best around. For high school, we enjoyed more of the same in the advanced coursework at Cox High School, despite what Mark was concerned about and my dad's complaints. And that was the truly fantastic Virginia Beach public school system that's freely available to all of us. And I'll say it's a real honor. I see many of my school teachers and my old principal as patients to this day, and God love them for tolerating an overly talkative, hyperactive young student, and for all they've done for our entire community, honestly. Among the many educators who shaped our community, Dr. Edward Brickell was a visionary who shaped the school system in Hampton Roads to be the success that it remains today. The Virginia Beach Rotary Club established a college scholarship in his name the year I graduated, and 20 of us high school seniors from all the various public schools were chosen to compete based on academic, athletic, and leadership participation. And ultimately, from such an accomplished group, I was blessed by our community leaders as the first recipient of that award, which is still active to this day. And I'm going to come back to this a little bit. It's one of the threads that repeats again and again. So from Cox High School, I headed off, as Mark pointed out, to the University of Virginia. I did my undergraduate training in biology and engineering, and I absolutely loved it there. And to this day, I visit every chance that I can. That may be too often for my kids' preference, since they're both there as well. What really brings me back to the community is my first summer back from college, I wanted to learn more about medicine. And my father, through a series of haranguing approaches to his colleagues, set up a number of rotations at Centera Virginia Beach General Hospital in everything from cardiology to surgery, radiology to pathology. And again, the willingness of the medical professionals in our community to freely give of their time to teach shaped my future destiny without any doubt. I still have the little binder that contains the notes and logs that I filled out each night of what I'd seen. And in a pre-internet era, I had the benefit of explanations and discussions with my parents to put everything in context. In fact, for those of you that remember, the hospital administrator of Virginia Beach General, Mr. Robert Graves, sent me this nice letter at the end of the summer. And I'm going to read the first paragraph. It says, Deepak, I commend you for taking time to learn more about this exciting and challenging field. Virginia Beach General Hospital has also benefited from your enthusiasm and interest. If I can be of any help to you as you continue your career in medicine, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. He was a gracious gentleman for many of you that remember him. And I had the opportunity years later, as I came on the staff at Centera, to personally thank him for my memory of this. This highlights to me the value of collaboration between our clinical and our administrative teams. And I would thank all of our leaders here today for taking time to join us and for all they do for this community. As I think back on that summer internship, I see the threads of the tapestry very clearly. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. Reflecting back on the list of the former John Krueger Physicians of the Year, most of my mentors that summer are the people on this list, and this just calls out a few. And you'll see a couple repeat photos. I didn't know that Rena had sabotaged me and shared photos, but I did know Jess was up to something, so we'll get back to him later. As embarrassing as it is for any of us to see our youthful pictures, I'm sharing some photos with hopefully better hairstyles. These photos are the old entrance of Virginia Beach General Hospital, the physician's library there where I spent a lot of time, and even the pathology lab and a post-mortem dissection on the right with Dr. Genta, who I saw earlier in the audience. And again, that's what I love about our community, is those are the things that shape all of us, and having that kind of influence makes such a big difference. Here from radiology, you see Dr. Genta and I with a heart specimen we're going through there. It's been an amazing experience for now many decades in my life to be part of this community. In 1991, there was a very unique opportunity to do this kind of thing. But now, thanks to the medical community, under the leadership of Drs. Dickinson and Kennerson and Worth and many others here, this is experiences that are readily available to everyone. It started with the Norfolk Academy Named Scholars Program, which has been going on for several decades. And then more recently, under the leadership of Dr. Worth, we now have the Krueger Medical Scholars Program that collaborates with Norfolk Academy, Cape Henry, and the whole public school system to allow many of us to host high school students in the cath labs, surgical suites, GI suites, and ERs right here in town. And in partnership with Eastern Virginia Medical School, I honestly believe that our community is a hotbed of medical education. Many of us in the cardiology division are excited to start our first cardiology fellowship program this coming year. All right, quickly, as I completed training and looked at medical schools for the next stage of my life, I had the opportunity to sit back down with Dr. Brickle, who is now the Dean of Eastern Virginia Medical School. And this sign shows the EVMS library is still named for him. Again, it's a really small world in this community, and it's just amazing. Ultimately, I decided to stay on in Charlottesville, where I completed my medical education at the University of Virginia. And while I received a wonderful education, my greatest stroke of fortune was to meet Dr. Hyun Choi. This brilliant and beautiful classmate and I fell in love. Oh, and that's the end. No. That's funny. You know, I don't think that's on my side. Mandy, is there? Okay, so it was about to get a lot briefer. I was going to say, at UVA, we had a marvelous time there, and we made many close friendships we share to this day. In fact, it's neat to me, again, small world tapestry, our kids have ended up forming close friendships with many of the kids of our medical school friends, and have even done internships across the country together. Not to be one to be left out of the action, my parents were omnipresent in our lives. Here you see my dad in the anatomy lecture room and anatomy lab, and later attending the American Heart Association, and he's always been a huge influence in my life. From UVA, I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, where Rena was actually in training, and there I did my internal medicine residency. And just quickly, I'll tell you, Rena was in med school there. That gave us a chance to once again start causing a lot of mischief. I actually asked the head of the medicine residency if I could serve during her month as a medicine intern as her senior resident. Right? He gave me a hard no. And he said that although I had won a number of teaching awards and he thought I was a good teacher to students, it wouldn't be a good fit. In fact, his exact words were, "You're too much of a cupcake and she would walk all over you." That's a direct quote. When not keeping an eye on Rena in residency, I was able to visit Hyun, who had chosen to go to Duke University for her pediatrics residency. So from there, Hyun and I made the decision to head to balmy Rochester, Minnesota, where I began my cardiology fellowship at the Mayo Clinic while she was attending on staff. During that time, we had a lot of great support from our families as we tied the knot, and that's been amazing. Now, while at Mayo, I want to share one story that, again, is going to cycle, but I had some incredible mentors. Here's Dr. O, the head of the echo department on the left, and Dr. Rick Nishimura on the right, both brilliant cardiologists and amazing mentors. They joined me for a poster presentation here at the American College of Cardiology. And to this day, as many of you will attest, I can still hear Dr. Nishimura's voice in my head as I'm teaching the medical students or during tough cases. He was a tough but amazing mentor and one of the most distinguished faculty at the Mayo Clinic, with an international reputation in the management of heart valve disease and aortic stenosis. As we completed our fellowship, Hyun and I were deciding on our next steps in life, and I had narrowed down my choices to staying at the Mayo Clinic on faculty or coming back home to Hampton Roads. I got two different pieces of advice. Hyun clarified that if I decided to stay at Mayo, I could write and let her know how it was going for me. We did carefully decide then we would return home, and while I was figuring out how to message that to Dr. Nishimura, the cat got out of the bag. So Dr. Nishimura pulled me into his office, and tough love, he said he was worried that if I left Mayo and returned home to a smaller medical program, that I'd potentially be at risk for a lifelong sense of regret for a lesser career trajectory. Nonetheless, after a lot of soul searching, it was clear to me that I couldn't resist the pull to come back home. And so we came full circle and ended up right back where we started in Hampton Roads. I joined an amazing group of cardiologists started by Drs. Dickinson and Bartell, and many of them here today, who are friends, mentors, colleagues, and I've taught and learned from each of them. From Cardiovascular Associates to Bayview Medical Associates, I continue to grow, and I'm in this amazing community. Hyun joined Centera Pediatrics, and we had a great time here. As you heard earlier, in my early years, I honed my craft in interventional and structural cardiology. With the arrival of our children, Alex and Sophie, that brought untold joys of the world to us. We really were just in such a great place, we couldn't believe it. I've been told that people don't want to be around me because things like this seem to keep happening around me, but it actually, in my second year of practice, this was a patient featured in the newspaper as, quote, the luckiest man alive. And his story is he walked out of his house, no ID on him, and had a cardiac arrest. A runner coming the opposite direction started CPR. He was brought in very ill appearing and not cognitively intact, just very confused to Virginia Beach General Hospital. I was on call, as many of my partners are all the time, and I happened to take him to the cath lab. And our nurse Karen, as we were stenting him and getting things better, she looked over at me, she said, Deepak, do you want to give him more heparin? It's too low. And I looked up, and he looked up. At that point, he was actually starting to become conscious again. He said, Deepak, I think I was your 6th grade English teacher. And sure enough, he actually was. We had both aged a little bit by that point. And again, I would point out that in a case like this, just like as Mark pointed out, in Jeff's situation, it's a community. It's all of us. People in this room all came together. Dr. Alamar had actually put in Jeff's stents. So kudos to him. All right. In the next couple years of my career, as a faculty member of Eastern Virginia Medical School, I was able to get to know Dr. Brickell even better, now as a faculty member of his medical school. He passed in 2015, and many of us, myself included, had the honor of taking care of him. I think Wayne, I saw somewhere here, was his primary heart failure cardiologist. He passed from a non-cardiac related issue, but left behind a tremendous legacy. And since that time, knowing what he had done for our community and me, Hyun and I have participated in the Brickell Scholars Program, and we give scholarships to high school students just like I received so many years ago. And again, that's this community. It's a small community where we all pay it back and forward as we go. And my heart continues to go out to Dr. Brickell, as my kids were fortunate enough to enjoy the tremendous Virginia Beach public school system here, first at Old Donation and then Ocean Lakes and Princess Anne. All right, we're getting to the end of the story here. During that time, they were also, just by Talreja pattern, forced to come in and work in the medical environment. And as part of that, they learned research. They participated in research projects. They learned from Dr. St. Clair the travails of medical research and the dangers of participating in medical research. And again, in a community that loves education and supports it, they completed projects that allowed Alex to present at the Cardiovascular Research Therapies Conference in Washington, D.C., and Sophie presented a research poster in the COVID years that was actually picked up and highlighted by the American Heart Association in those days when we were all doing virtual stuff. Again, across generations, Hampton Roads and the city of Virginia Beach empowers young people to pursue their dreams. And everyone in this room is an example of that, and that's what I sincerely believe makes this community great. All right, as I come close to the end of my story, I wanted to share what I think is a very fitting ending. Each year, Centera Cardiology hosts a Mid-Atlantic Cardiology Conference for everyone. It's one of my favorite projects. In 2023, we invited Dr. Nishimura, remember my mentor, and his wife, Dr. Warren's, also on the faculty of Mayo, to serve as our keynote speakers. They spoke on Saturday. On Sunday, they attended the Neptune Festival. Dr. Krueger would have been proud. They loved it. And that night, after the Neptune Festival, we had dinner. They had a ball. They shared their amazement sincerely for the medical community and what we have here in Hampton Roads. And with the additional wisdom that Dr. Nishimura has picked up in those 20 years, he shared his pride and respect for what we have here. And he was pleased to see the work we all have done to develop, in my case, a successful aortic valve program is where my heart is, and that was a link between what he taught me and what I have here. And he did smile as he acknowledged that I had clearly made the right decision to come back home all these years later. So quickly, as I end, there's not enough time to thank all the people that deserve it. First of all, I've had the opportunity, while we were out in the hall enjoying drinks, to say hi to about half the group. But as I look out at faces, this group, this is the real heroes of this city. What you guys do is unbelievable, and everyone in this room deserves it. And that's what I think is a little bit different about this year, is I'm honored to accept the award, but it's really on behalf of all of us. And when I look at the teams around us, I know you can't see all the faces, but this is the group of Centera Cardiology teams in the inpatient and outpatient arena, the Virginia Beach invasive and non-invasive departments, as well as the teams at the Heart Hospital, at Princess Anne, at Lee, and even further out. And just so I make sure I don't leave anyone out, it gets bigger and bigger. This is what it takes for all of us to give great care in this community. And just to make sure I don't miss anyone, this is the entire cardiology division as of now. Our APPs, our physicians, everyone deserves a huge amount of praise. My final thank you is to my loving family, who I'm so proud of because they really have been tremendous to every generation. And especially to my lovely wife here, who's the real star in our family, honestly. And she has shown complete devotion to work and also to our family, which has let us partner in raising our children in this incredible community. So I end with thanks to all of you and to our entire medical community, to my friends, to my colleagues, and to all of you. And I can't wait to hear from Dr. Burks. Thank you all.